Ever wonder about like the power of prayer? Like maybe you're curious, maybe a little skeptical, or maybe you've even had some experiences that left you with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Well, get ready because we're diving into a story that might just like totally shift your perspective.
Okay.
So we're going to be looking at the experience of this respiratory therapist, Sarah.
Uh-huh.
And she went through, a pretty life-altering event, a near-death experience, an NDE. So after a really bad car accident, Sarah was actually clinically dead for over 7 minutes.
Wow.
And during that time, she says she encountered another dimension of reality.
So what's really fascinating about Sarah's story is that before the accident, she was kind of like a casual believer, someone who prayed now and then, but mostly when she needed something.
Yeah.
But this NDE, this near-death experience, it like completely reshaped how she understood prayer. It went from just asking for things to actively like engaging with what she calls a fundamental creative force.
Yeah, like it became less about, petitioning a higher power and more about like tapping into something much bigger, right?
Exactly. And that shift, it's a common thread that we see in a lot of NDE accounts. It suggests we're moving from this idea of prayer as a transaction to something more like participation.
Okay, so let's get into like the specifics. Sarah talks about this space between spaces she entered.
Right.
And it wasn't heaven like we traditionally picture it, more like this dimension of pure consciousness. She describes it as this living tapestry of light where every single thread represented a prayer being offered somewhere in the world.
Wow, that's a powerful image. And, it kind of gets at this concept of consciousness existing beyond our physical bodies.
Right.
Like it raises this question, if our consciousness isn't limited to our brains, could it be that our prayers, our thoughts, our intentions, all of that, maybe they also have a presence and influence beyond our physical selves?
That's pretty mind-blowing. But Sarah doesn't stop there. She goes on to describe seeing these prayers not just as like words or thoughts, but as actual streams of energy.
Okay.
And each one had its own color, rhythm, intensity. Some, she said, were bright and focused like lasers, while others were softer, more like gentle waves.
Interesting.
Yeah. She even witnessed a mother in Argentina praying for her sick child. And she describes this prayer energy, right, manifesting as real events in the physical world.
Like what?
So a doctor suddenly remembering a similar case, the child's immune system getting this boost, and even the community coming together to offer support.
Huh. Well, this kind of aligns with that idea of intercessory prayer.
All right.
The idea that praying for others can actually have a tangible impact on their lives.
Yeah.
Now, whether that happens through, divine intervention or by somehow influencing the thoughts and actions of the people involved, that's a whole other question.
Right.
But what Sarah experienced at least raises the possibility that our intentions, especially when they're amplified through prayer, can actually ripple outwards and affect the world around us.
Yeah, it's like our thoughts and prayers are creating these like energetic waves.
Yeah.
And they're actually interacting with the fabric of reality.
I like that. That's a good way to put it. It means we're not just isolated individuals sending out prayers, into the void, but instead we're all interconnected and our intentions are part of this like dynamic web of energy that's always shaping and reshaping the world.
Okay, so it's not just hoping our prayers are heard, but understanding that they might be contributing to a much larger, interconnected tapestry of energy and intention.
Right, a tapestry.
And here's where it gets even wilder. Ready for this? Sarah's then taken to what she calls a cosmic control room.
Okay.
And in this control room, she sees prayers interfacing with reality, almost like a divine switchboard.
Oh, wow.
Gratitude prayers were generating these golden ripples that seemed to like enhance positivity. Healing prayers created green and blue energy patterns that she thinks influence cellular regeneration. And guidance prayers, they were manifesting as purple streams, creating pathways of clarity for people.
Wow. So it's like she's being shown that prayer is actually a form of participation.
Yeah.
Like it's a way of influencing possibilities within a framework of free will and maybe even, some sort of universal law or flow.
So we're not dictating outcomes, but we are potentially shifting the odds.
Yeah.
Like opening doors, influencing possibilities.
Yeah, maybe even tilting the scales a bit.
That's incredible. But I'm curious, what happens when multiple people pray for the same thing? Does that like amplify the effect?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting, right? because Sarah observed that when multiple people prayed for the same thing, the energy amplified, like, dramatically. It created these really powerful resonance patterns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She gives this example of a group praying for peace in a conflict zone. And their combined prayers, get this, they actually start to influence the thoughts and emotions of the people in that area. It led to less aggression and more empathy.
You know, that actually aligns with some pretty fascinating research on group meditation and prayer and how it can affect social harmony. Yeah, it's like this resonance effect, where shared intentions create a kind of energetic field that makes change easier.
So, if a small group can have that kind of impact, what could happen if, like, larger groups, whole communities, even nations, united in prayer for a common goal?
The possibilities are, pretty staggering to think about.
Yeah. But it's not all like sunshine and rainbows, right?
Yeah.
Sarah also saw prayers that seemed weak or ineffective. They were these dim, scattered lights. Prayers offered without conviction, empty repetitions, prayers focused just on personal gain without considering others.
Makes you think, doesn't it? Like maybe the quality of our intentions, the heart behind our prayers, that plays a role in how effective they are.
Yeah.
Sincerity, alignment with a higher purpose, genuine concern for others. These seem to be key factors in making those prayers more potent.
So it's not just going through the motions, but about aligning our hearts and minds with a deeper intention. That makes sense. Okay, then things take a really interesting turn. Sarah describes seeing this structure, this spiritual DNA structure that represented all the possible answers to a prayer, like a blueprint of potential outcomes. And she saw that prayers don't change a predetermined destiny, but they can open or close possibilities within this structure.
It's kind of like that chess game analogy, right?
Yeah.
Each prayer is a move, influencing this complex web of possibilities and outcomes.
Exactly. It's not about changing the rules of the game, but playing strategically, making choices that influence where the game goes. And then get this. Sarah's shown her own past prayers, both the shallow ones and the powerful ones, and their real-world impacts.
Wow, so that really makes you wonder, what are the unrecognized influences of our own prayers?
Yeah.
What ripples have we set in motion with our thoughts and intentions?
That is mind-boggling to think about.
Okay.
And just when you think it can't get any more intense, Sarah's taken to what she calls the spiritual emergency room, where prayers for crisis situations are top priority. She sees her own accident and this protective field of energy, all created by prayers from her loved ones and even from complete strangers.
That points to this idea of a universal consciousness, doesn't it? Or maybe this interconnectedness that goes beyond individual boundaries.
Yeah.
Like we're all part of something much larger than ourselves. And our prayers, our compassion, our love, it can all reach across those boundaries and impact others in ways we can't even begin to grasp.
Okay, but this next part is really wild. Sarah describes a prayer repository, a library storing every prayer that's ever been offered.
Yeah.
And get this, she says they're all still affecting reality somehow. Past prayers influencing the present prayers impacting the future. It's like prayer exists outside of time.
This concept of timeless consciousness, it's fascinating. The idea that our thoughts and intentions can ripple through time, influencing past, present, and future, it's a tough one to wrap your head around. But what Sarah experienced gives us something to really think about.
Yeah, it's like our prayers were these timeless echoes that just keep resonating throughout the universe, influencing how events unfold in ways we can't even imagine. And then she sees the earth surrounded by this web of light, all formed by sincere prayers.
Wow.
And it's like this web is holding things together, preventing chaos,
Yeah.
maintaining harmony.
So it underscores how important prayer is, not just for us individually, but for the harmony and stability of the whole world. Like our prayers, our collective intentions, they might actually be helping to keep things in balance here on earth.
That is a powerful thought. And finally, Sarah returns to her body, totally changed by what she's seen. And now she feels this mission to share her story and teach others about the true power of prayer. So what does this all mean? Sarah's experience paints a picture of prayer as way more than just a ritual or a way to cope. It suggests prayer is this potent force that can actually shape reality, influence events, and even transcend time itself.
It really challenges us to rethink how we understand prayer. If it truly is this creative force, like Sarah described, how can we better understand it and use its potential to bring about positive change in ourselves and the world?
That's a huge question, one that I think we all need to really sit with. It could change everything.
It really does, doesn't it? If what Sarah went through is any indication, prayer might be, so much more than just a comforting ritual or just a way to deal with tough times. It could actually be like this fundamental force woven right into reality.
It's almost like we've been given this incredible power, right? This ability to tap into some sort of universal creative energy, and we're only just starting to figure out what it can do.
That's a really good way to put it. Like, we've had this incredible tool all along, but haven't really known how to use it properly.
So if we're thinking of prayer like that, like it's this creative force, this active participation in shaping reality, where do we even begin? How do we go from just hoping and wishing to like consciously co-creating with this universal energy?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? And there are no easy answers, no like foolproof formulas or anything. But Sarah's experience and what we know from various spiritual traditions, they offer us some interesting clues. Remember how Sarah talked about the prayers that looked like dim, scattered lights? The ones that lacked conviction or were just empty words or, focused only on what the person wanted for themselves?
Yeah, it was like the energy behind them just wasn't as strong.
Exactly. It really highlights how important it is to align our intentions with a deeper purpose, with a real desire to contribute to the well-being of ourselves and others.
So it's not about asking for stuff, but about aligning ourselves with like a higher good, a bigger picture.
Think of it like tuning a musical instrument. When our intentions are clear, focused, and in harmony with a higher purpose, our prayers resonate more. They're more harmonious and ultimately much more powerful.
I love that analogy. That's beautiful. So what are some practical ways we can fine-tune our intentions like that and tap into that deeper resonance?
Well, lots of spiritual traditions talk about the importance of things like meditation, practicing mindfulness, and cultivating gratitude. These practices help quiet the mind, help us connect with that inner wisdom, and cultivate a more heart-centered way of praying.
So it's like we're clearing away the static so we can like transmit and receive more clearly.
Exactly. And don't forget what Sarah observed about the power of praying together. When we join with others who share our intentions, it can really boost our individual efforts.
So like find your people, find your tribe, that community of like-minded souls, and pray together.
That's a really powerful way to go about it. Whether it's a formal prayer group, just getting together with friends, or even just holding someone in your heart with loving intention, that shared energy, it creates powerful ripples. It can really make a difference.
This whole conversation's making me realize that prayer is so much more dynamic and multifaceted than I ever thought. It's not just about saying the words, but about cultivating a way of being, right? Aligning with a higher purpose, being willing to participate in something much bigger than ourselves.
And it's about recognizing that we're not just praying for things to happen, but for the wisdom and guidance to help make those things happen.
To become co-creators with this universal energy, to use our unique gifts and talents to build a world that reflects, our best hopes and dreams.
That's a great way to put it. And it's a journey, a journey of exploration and discovery. The more we open ourselves to this possibility, the more we align our intentions with the well-being of everyone, the more we'll realize how much power we have to shape not just our own lives, but the world around us.
I gotta say, this has been pretty eye-opening. Sarah's experience and your insights have really given me a whole new perspective on prayer. It's not just a religious thing, it's a real creative force, a way to tap into this universal energy that connects us all.
And it really challenges us to look at our own relationship with prayer, to experiment with different ways of doing it, to join with others in shared intentions, and to just discover the amazing potential we each have within us.
This whole deep dive has been fantastic. It's given us so much to think about. But I have to say, it's a lot to take in. This idea that prayer is a creative force, participating in shaping reality. It's pretty different from how most of us learned about prayer.
It is a big shift. Yeah, it makes sense to have questions, even doubts. But what if we approach it with curiosity, with a willingness to explore and try new things? What if we let ourselves be open to the possibility that there's so much more to prayer than we've ever realized?
I like that. Approaching it with curiosity and an open mind, not getting stuck in old ideas or beliefs, but allowing ourselves to explore and discover. And, when you think about it, what Sarah experienced wasn't about blind faith. It was about her direct experience, about coming face to face with this other dimension and being completely changed by what she saw and felt.
Exactly. It wasn't about accepting someone else's ideas about prayer, but about experiencing its power for herself.
So if we really want to understand the potential of prayer, maybe we need to go beyond just talking about it and actually start trying things out, start exploring our own ability to connect with this creative force.
I love that. It's about getting involved, not just watching from the sidelines.
So how do we do that? How do we go from theory to practice? How do we cultivate this awareness, this connection, this ability to use the power of prayer consciously and effectively?
That's where things get really exciting, and that's what we're going to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, so we've spent this whole time talking about how prayer can be this creative force, this way to actually shape reality. But how do we make that happen? How do we stop just wishing for things and start consciously co-creating with this universal energy?
Well, it's definitely a journey, one of exploration and discovery, and there isn't like a one-size-fits-all method or anything. But looking at Sarah's experience, along with what we know from different spiritual traditions, they do give us some pretty good guidance. Remember those prayers Sarah described that were all dim and scattered? The ones that didn't really have much conviction behind them or were focused only on what that person wanted, just for themselves?
Yeah, it seemed like the energy behind those prayers was just weaker somehow.
Exactly. And that shows how important it is to make sure our intentions are aligned with a deeper purpose, with a real desire to contribute to the well-being of ourselves and everyone else.
So it's less about begging for stuff and more about aligning ourselves with something bigger, right? Like a higher good, a wider perspective.
Yeah, think of it like this. Imagine tuning a musical instrument. When our intentions are clear and focused and they're in harmony with a higher purpose, our prayers become more resonant, more harmonious, and ultimately much more powerful.
That's a great way to put it. So how do we actually do that? How do we fine-tune our intentions and tap into that deeper resonance?
Well, a lot of spiritual traditions point to practices like meditation, being mindful, and cultivating a sense of gratitude. These practices can help quiet all the mental noise, help us connect with that inner wisdom, and approach prayer from a more heart-centered place.
It's almost like we're clearing out all the static so our signal can come through clearer.
Yeah, exactly. And remember what Sarah said about praying together. When we join with others who have the same intentions, it can seriously amplify what we're doing individually.
So finding our people, right? Our tribe, those who are on the same wavelength, and praying together, that can really make a difference.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be some formal prayer group or anything. Even just getting together with friends or even just holding someone in your heart with love and good intentions, all of that shared energy can create these powerful ripple effects.
I'm realizing through this whole conversation that prayer is so much more dynamic and complex than I ever thought. It's not just about reciting words. It's about cultivating a certain way of being.
Yeah.
Aligning ourselves with a higher purpose, being willing to be a part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, and it's also about understanding that we're not just praying for things to happen, but for the wisdom and guidance to play our part in making those things happen.
To actually co-create with this universal energy, to use our unique gifts and talents to create a world that reflects what we truly desire.
I like that. And remember, it's a journey, The more open we are to this possibility, the more we align our intentions with the well-being of all, the more we'll realize how much power we truly have to shape not just our own lives, but the world around us.
This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening. Sarah's story and what you've shared have given me a completely new understanding of prayer. It's not just a religious practice, it's a real, powerful, creative force, a way to tap into this universal energy that connects all of us.
And it really makes us think about our own relationship with prayer, to try different things, to join with others, and to see what amazing potential lies within each of us.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive this has been. It's given us so much to consider. Sarah's experience, combined with everything you've shared, has painted a whole new picture of prayer. It's not just a religious practice, but a real, powerful force, a way to tap into that universal energy that connects us all.
And it really challenges us to think about our own connection to prayer, to explore different ways of praying, to join with others, and to just see the incredible potential we all have within us.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of prayer. We hope it sparked some new ideas and maybe even inspired you to explore your own relationship with this amazing force. Remember, every thought you have, every intention, every prayer you offer, it's all part of the fabric of creation. So what kind of world do you want to help create?